Hi, everybody. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Lemaster.
And this is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a movie each week and go over the horror news and make jokes about my wife.
That sounds about right. Luckily,
How are you
she
guys
doesn't
doing today?
Listen to this podcast, so you have nothing to worry about. I'm doing pretty good.
I'm doing good. How are
I'm
you
glad.
doing?
I am doing fine. I am glad that you guys are doing well. We had a very eventful weekend last weekend. We wrapped principal photography. Wow, that's a hard word to say sometimes. We wrapped principal photography on our latest project, Secret Admirer. And you both were there, obviously. And how do you guys think it went?
Oh my goodness.
I think it went pretty well. We had a minor setback, but we recovered and we were able to finish. So pretty excited about it.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited for it to be finished. I really want to see it.
There's some bloodletting in this one, guys. There's some bloodletting. So I can't wait to see that. All right, so let's move on and get right to the horror news. There's not a lot to speak of today, guys. The big horror news is that Candyman is out, kind of. I mean, it releases on this Friday. And the reviews so far have been kind of both. I mean, I've read some really great reviews. It sits currently at like a 95%, so very good. But I've read some really good reviews, and I've read some mediocre, trying too much to cram into this little space. But we all watched the trailer for it. Are you guys excited? Looking forward to see this? Do you guys think you'll see it soon?
Definitely.
I don't know if I'll see it soon, but I will definitely watch it. I'm pretty excited to see what they did with the story.
Yeah, so am I. I mean, we kind of touched on it a little bit on the previous podcast about how it's a sequel, quasi-sequel remake, so that's exciting. So I'm excited to see what they do with it as well. But since we're talking about good old Candyman, I've got some really interesting news for you guys here. So Bernard Rose actually talked about, and Tony Todd here talks about a Winterset sequel to Candyman that was never made, Candyman 4. It was set 5 years after 1999's Candyman Day of the Dead. And apparently around that time, Tony Todd was saying that they're prepping the fourth Candyman. It's going to be $25 million budget, a huge thing, and it never happened. Would you guys have liked to have seen Candyman 4 in the proper chronological series, or do you think this reboot is the best way to go about it?
I didn't ever watch the third one, so I might not have even seen the fourth one. I think the reboot brought a new life to it for me. Yeah,
I mean, it made it more modern. It brought new directors to the table and new producers. Jordan Peele produced it and co-wrote the script. So it definitely brings more eyeballs to it for sure. Derek, would you have been interested in seeing a fourth Candyman movie?
So I, like Lydia, didn't see the third. So I feel like you kind of have that. You have to have that context in order to know like where they were headed with the property. So I couldn't tell you. I'd have to catch up on that series.
I mean, I agree with both of you, that the remake, the reboot, requel, I guess, is the best way to go forward with it. But I would have been interested in seeing a Candyman movie where Tony Todd takes the reins, where it's, just a Tony Todd led sequel, big budget sequel would have been good. I just don't know if there's an appetite for that in 2005. I mean, if we put ourselves in that like kind of time frame, there hadn't been a Candyman movie in like 5 years, and they were directed to video sequels. So,
yep,
I kind of agree. This is news that just came out today. So apparently they are making a remake to The Witches of Eastwick. And it is going.
Was that the one with Nicole Kidman and
no?
What's her face?
No, that's Practical Magic.
Great movie.
They're pretty close. They're pretty close.
They're not even close at all. Witches of Eastwick is Jack Nicholson.
Okay.
You remember that one?
Yep.
Nope.
You've never seen Witches of Eastwick? It's a George Miller movie from 1987. Very funny. It's a fun little. It has Cher in it, Susan Sarandon, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Then yes, I have.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just been a long. I probably haven't seen it since the 80s. You said it came out in 87.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Derek was like, "Oh, Cher. Yes, I have her entire catalog."
Oh yes, then I have seen it.
Yeah. Why didn't you just open with Cher? So, I mean, is this a property that you're kind of that you'd be excited to see remade? Like, is there a yearning for this?
It was definitely an interesting movie. I can't imagine that movie set today, or I don't know. It's a strange kind of comedy. Weird. I don't know. It's got a weird place in time. So,
yeah, I agree. I also I have a hard time with the concept of remaking anything Jack Nicholson related because there's just no performer that is Jack Nicholson, right? I mean, he's such a very singular performer, a very singular presence that a movie remade that starred him is going to always be compared unfavorably. I mean, even Dr. Sleep, which is great, you miss Jack Nicholson in it. What do you think?
Did you ever see the? I don't know. I'll touch on what you had asked me, and then I'll do that side note. So I don't know. I honestly can't recall the movie, so I couldn't really say if it deserved a sequel, or were you saying a reboot?
Yeah, I think it's like a complete remake, like 2000.
Maybe
style.
A remake, but yeah, you're spot on with any movie with Jack Nicholson if you try to remake it. And that actually made me think of, they tried to redo The Shining on a USA movie. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the guy from Wings.
Steven Weber. Yeah. It's a Mick Garris movie. It's fine on its own merits. It's a fine enough miniseries. I enjoyed it for what it was, but if your only exposure to The Shining is the Kubrick movie, then it pales horribly in comparison. If your exposure to The Shining is the movie and the book, it's actually very faithful to the book, so it's a more faithful adaptation. But the Kubrick movie is just a stone cold masterpiece. It's one of those things that if I were offered the job, you got to respect Mick Garris for being Mick Garris, because if I was offered the job, I'd be like, "Nah, I'm good." They already did that one, and it was great. I don't want to end up like the guy who directed the 2005 Fog. Like, oh, it's that motherfucker. I know him. He ruined The Shining again. This is kind of weird and exciting and cool. Did you know that this year, how crazy is this? This year marks the 80th anniversary of The Wolfman.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah.
80 years, huh?
80 years. The Wolfman turns 80 this year. Isn't that
nuts?
That
Wolfman had nards.
Yeah, that Wolfman had a lot of nards. Of course, 1941, starred the great Lon Chaney Jr. as Larry Talbot. Still, in my opinion, next to classics like American Werewolf in London and The Howling. Still the best werewolf movie is Lon Chaney's 1941 Wolfman. Even now, 80 years later, it still holds up incredibly well. The special effects that they used for the time were very innovative. And Lon Chaney's performance as Larry Talbot's the best performance of Talbot that we've had. He's very, what's the word? You feel a lot of empathy for him. He's very empathetic in his portrayal. You've seen The Wolfman, right, Lydia?
Yes, a lot. I love The Wolfman. That's really cool that it's 80 years. Holy cow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a real long time. Especially a long time for it to still be relevant. I mean, even as far as a couple years ago, they're talking about making a new Wolfman movie, It's a character that has... And it's interesting because the Wolfman, the story of the Wolfman itself is an original idea. Concept of werewolves isn't, but the story of the Wolfman and the whole, the hearts of man, when the wolfbane blooms and the full moon rises, that whole little poem is written for that movie. And it sounds like it was written a century ago. It's great writing. Good stuff. Go ahead, Derek.
Talks to make a new Wolfman, was that to be part of the cinematic universe? The MonsterVerse?
Both. Originally, it was supposed to be part of that dark universe that Universal was trying to get off the ground. And then when that crashed and burned, it was becoming its own property. Kind of like what they're doing now, because they're making a new Bride of Frankenstein movie. They made The Invisible Man already, which was pretty damn good. So they're just starting to do their own separate stories and then maybe, wind them together if it works out. They jumped the gun is what they did. They tried to build a universe before they built a good movie.
Character.
Yeah. So now what they're doing is the talks are they're making a standalone Wolfman movie, which I'd see. We'll probably review it eventually, but what did you think of the Benicio del Toro, Joe Johnston Wolfman movie?
It was weird for me because I love the original so much, but I really like everyone who acted in it. They're all great actors, but it's kind of hard to. I don't know exactly if I would say I loved it, but I watched it. I watched it probably 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I actually own it, so that's interesting. Derek.
Yeah, I watched some clips of that movie not too long ago, actually, on YouTube to kind of brush up on it. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
I haven't seen it in a good 10 years.
Yeah, it's good.
I went to the movies and saw it and liked it enough. I mean, I was slightly underwhelmed. I was really hyped to see it. I was really hyped to see that movie. It was an R-rated Wolfman movie, and they were promising all these practical effects. And then I get there, and the Wolfman himself is practical, and he looks phenomenal. The Rick Baker makeup they did on Benicio del Toro, but the transformation scene was this terrible CGI thing.
I think that's what kind of ruined it.
I was like, come on, guys.
You can do it practical. It's hard. It's gonna cost you, but it's gonna be worth it because now nobody's gonna go back and watch that movie probably.
Yeah, because it's gonna age worse.
Yeah.
You know what? Not that the transformations were all that great, but at least in the first one, the Underworld movie, the fact that they really had people in those big suits, that was really cool to see the photos of those.
Well, yeah, and
I would literally shit myself if I walked around the corner and saw one of those things. I'd be like, I'm gonna go the other way.
I've been wanting to watch those again.
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought about watching it not too long ago. You know what I did go back and watch, and we'll have to do reviews on it eventually, is I watched the first couple Resident Evil movies. Because I was in that early 2000s horror mood. So I watched Resident Evil 2. And they're fine. I mean, they're not very good Resident Evil adaptations, but they're fun. And I like Mia Jovovich. quite a
She's
lot.
really cool.
Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, I would mispronounce her name every time. Just
the fifth element for Derek is trying to figure out how to spell her name. just say multipass whenever you're talking about it. Then we know exactly what you're talking about. Multipass.
Yep.
It's a good one. Fifth Element. It's a good one.
Oh yeah.
All right, guys. This is weird.
It's a classic movie.
And interesting. They are doing a series of Interview with the Vampire.
Ooh.
It is on AMC. It is AMC has acquired features The Vampire Chronicles, Interview with Vampire, Vampire Lestat, Queen of the Damned, basically all of the books they acquired them. So Roland Jones is creating, showrunning, and writing the series, to be expected in AMC sometime in 2022. Lewis, which is the character played by Brad Pitt, is Louis. Louis is being played by Jacob Anderson, who is this guy right here.
I love Interview with a Vampire. I love Queen of the Damned, but Interview with a Vampire is like one of my favorite movies.
Well, it's a great one. Here's the guy right here.
Okay.
He's going to be playing Louis. So that's Jon Snow. He knows nothing.
Yeah.
Where did Derek go?
He's right there.
I can't see him. He's gone.
Oh man, that was
I
really
see him.
good.
Want me to let me present and then unpresent. See if you see him again.
You guys switch sides, and he's invisible. Now
Oh my god, that was perfect, Jamie.
Do you see him now?
Yep.
Derek's back.
That one still got me.
So, thoughts on that? You said it's one of your favorite movies. I really like Interview with the Vampire. I did not like Queen of the Damned.
You didn't?
Hmm.
I loved Queen of the Damned.
No,
I was,
that was
really young when I saw it.
That was
two
2000s for my liking.
I really was like a Korn fan when I was like a little girl.
I mean, that's definitely
a little adorable little girl just like rocking some
getting that new metal out,
headphones.
rocking the new metal, listening to the Biscuit. All the he said she said bullshit.
Exactly.
I didn't know that those two properties were related at all.
So yeah,
that's interesting.
Lestat,
which is Tom Cruise's character, is the main character in Queen of the Damned. It's just played by not Tom Cruise, which is the other way. I was like, no, that's a downgrade to me.
Well, and I think I saw Queen of the Damned before I saw Interview with the Vampire.
Well,
and
Queen
I
of the
didn't know
Damned,
that they were related either until after I got really into Interview with the Vampire.
Well, Queen of the Damned is kind of like the pop food chain version, whereas Interview with the Vampire was like a prestige film. It was a big, budget prestige film.
Definitely. I think that's why I can enjoy them both separately.
Yeah, there's completely different takes. Interview with the Vampire is a very good movie. I like it a lot. I haven't watched it in a while. Let's see. Derek, Danielle Harris has a new movie coming out. With Mina Cervera from American Pie and American Horror Story. They've boarded the cast of a psychological thriller and With Love. George Henry Horton will direct from a script by Blaine Morris. And Savari and Danielle Harris will both co-produce the movie. We don't have much else about it, but I will tell you I'm all for any movie starring Danielle Harris I will watch. Because she is Derek and I's generation's scream queen.
Yep.
We
love you, Danielle.
She watches religiously.
She is a huge Scream Bloody Movie fan, guys. I'm going to tweet her tomorrow, and you guys will see.
Please watch us. We love you.
Who is this guy? He keeps
Why is
stalking.
Why are they obsessed with Tom Atkins? Can you blame us? All right. That's about all we had for the horror news, guys. Like I said, it was a slow week. There wasn't a lot going on. We know non-horror news that the Warner Brothers are doing their thing. That we've seen clips from The Matrix has come out, the new Matrix movie. New clips from the new Batman movies out. So that's exciting stuff, but no new horror news.
Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yep, that trailer dropped. So a lot of movie news, just none for us. So, though we might cover Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, if it's as horror-centric as they say it should be. Is directed by horror great Sam Raimi.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
It's true.
So enough of this small talk. We came here for a reason, guys. And that is discuss the classic 90s film, Puppet Master 2, The Return of Toulon.
I've got a
thoroughly
lot to
enjoyed this
say
movie.
about it.
Huh? You enjoyed it?
I surprisingly enjoyed this movie.
Well, let's dig into it. I've got some thoughts on it myself. And we'll see if you and I don't switch roles for this week, Derek. We'll see.
We'll see what happens. I'm not saying it's going to get a high mark. I'm just saying.
That would be completely out of character.
It got better than the last. I think I gave the last one like a 4.
Yeah, we'll get into it. What would be great is if I still, even if I like it less than you, I still rate it higher. That would be hilarious. There's a good possibility that's going to happen.
We'll see, yeah.
All right, guys. So, this movie's opening is actually really cool. I really enjoy the opening. So, the one thing I will say about this movie right off the bat is that it looks like there was more money put into it, and it is filmed better than the last movie, in my opinion. I think the movie looks better than Puppet Master. What do you guys think about that? Do you agree, disagree?
I do agree with that.
I agree with that too. I saw their budget. It was only like $850,000 or $875,000.
How was that in comparison to the first movie?
I did see the budget.
Because I feel like if it wasn't, the budget wasn't higher, it was used more thriftily. They used it for production value.
So the first one, a budget of $400,000.
Oh, so double the budget.
Second one, a budget, $780,000 US.
So yeah, you can tell it shows on screen. That's what you need. They definitely put it on screen. That very first opening, when it opens with them in the cemetery, I immediately was like, "Oh, this movie just looks better than the last one. Like it looks more competent. Like much more competent." Are you all right?
Yeah, dude, the biggest knock I had for this movie was the sound quality. I don't know if it was just the version that I watched or not. Like the audio, the voice audio was fine, but man, the underlying like noises, like the thunder and stuff like that, there was like a weird echo.
Huh?
Did anybody else experience that?
I didn't have that issue. Where did you watch it?
I rented it on Amazon.
I watched it via the Full Moon app that I never canceled from last episode. So I guess I'm gonna just leave it running for. It's $5 a month. So I guess I'll just leave it running for the year. That way we can every month when we review a new goddamn Puppet Master movie, I don't have to look for it. Just go to the Full Moon app.
Yeah.
By the way, my wife is paying for it and she doesn't know it, so I need to talk to her about that.
You're like, hey, this random $6 here.
Yeah, she's gonna be like, "What? What is this?"
Full Moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a suspicious site.
I'll tell her, babe, it's Wiccan. It's so you can order candles. It's a candle ordering service. They just don't send candles. Instead, they send these shitty Puppet Master movies.
Just keep buying her a candle every month, and
and then basically it'll pay for itself.
Yeah, but I am with you. I really liked the opening scene. From the get-go, I think the special effects were better.
I think the puppets look a little better too. I think they look a little more refined, especially Pinhead. When the first shot we see him, I like the little lightning and thunder.
Squinty eye.
Yeah, he's got his like messed up eye, and like it's so they dig open. They go and they dig up Toulon's grave.
Yes.
And that's where we cut. But it's the way they do it. You have basically Pinhead doing all the digging, and he's lived in the coffin because he's the strong one. And then then we cut to the
and he dug the hole too.
Yeah, he dug the whole hole.
There's a big continuity issue that I saw. They
probably
didn't
find
do
a lot of them
spell before they brought him back.
They what?
They did not
chant
do a magic spell. Yeah, they didn't do an incantation.
That's true. They didn't do the
he does it later in the film.
Yes, he does. Brings it back. The great spell. Great spell comes back.
Yeah, but they didn't use it to.
That is true. Maybe who knows? Maybe they didn't need to. I don't know. I don't know how the rules work on this. We're only 2 movies into 14.
Yeah, well, I mean,
the lore will be explained.
Also, like they didn't introduce like that the solution in the first one.
No, it's 100%. Well. It's 100% an invention of this movie. It wasn't needed in the first one because he doesn't. You don't see him applying it into Jester when he makes him at the beginning of the first movie.
Yep.
It's not mentioned at all. So it's 100% just a invention of this movie.
Also from the first movie, you definitely get the feeling that like Toulon is just a super nice guy. He just has these puppets that do his show.
So there is definitely some character issues with Toulon, especially when I read ahead and we get into the sequels, because then he flips back to the way he was in the first one. So there's some weird things going on. It's like they just were like, well, we need a villain. Let's have him be the villain.
Right.
And that's what we got. Then they tried to explain it later with like his good part of his soul stays, a bad part leaves, and his regular soul's back. I don't know. It gets weird. We'll get to it when we get to it in episode 35.
That does sound weird.
But this opening goes into like the actual title sequence, which again plays the great Puppet Master theme, which I really love. I still think it's a great theme song.
It is.
For sure.
It's one of my favorites. So then we're introduced to our leads, and we have a woman.
After some extremely long credits at the beginning.
They are so long, aren't they?
They went on forever.
Well, I think they had to stretch it to reach feature-length time. I think they had to stretch it. I guarantee it. Because I was thinking that while I was watching it, I was like, it was playing, and I had my notes, and it just kept going, and I was like, oh, how long is this? Is this just maybe it's just long? So then I started like playing on my phone and checking something. I think I was seeing like looking at our stats or what have you. Then I was like, this is still going? And then finally it cuts to that shot of the hotel sitting on that, which by the way, they use the same exact shot.
Yes.
Throughout the whole movie. And you can see the terrible film grain because it's like a still shot superimposed on top of it.
Yes.
Well, there's 2 of them. There's a night shot and then there's a day shot. When they do the day shot, you definitely see like the holes in the film and like it looks pretty rough.
You see the matte line. Yep. Just fine. I mean, you got to do what you can on the budget. They're trying to be ambitious here.
Well, and they used that's the same. I'm pretty sure that is the same shot that they used in the.
They 100% just repurposed it. Which I mean, why would you reshoot it if you already have it, right? I mean grab that shot. Let's put it back in here.
First time,
and they used it like
to watch the second one.
Yeah, and they used it like 10 times in the first one, anyways. So it was
yeah, I know. Well, because basically they needed cutaways. They're like, cut away back to the hotel shot. Yep, that's where we are still.
Just so you know.
It's not like they're doing interesting, like different angles of it or camera movies. It's always the same static shot from the same angle.
Yep.
Love it.
Love it.
So we're introduced
This one,
to
sorry, this one does use a lot of random beach shots.
Oh, dude, I'm
as
telling
cutaways.
you, there's a lot of padding, and there's a lot of just nonsensical scenes that are thrown in to make it longer.
Yes.
And so when you're saying it's more enjoyable, kind of, but it's also worse at certain aspects because the plot is super incoherent.
So yeah, and I'll explain more of that as we go on.
Okay.
But like the two main things that I thought were better, 100% the deaths, the kill scenes in this, at least they're on screen.
Like 3 of them.
Because in the first one,
yeah.
Well, in the first one, I think there's only one death scene that's on screen.
There is. So they did that a little better.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? I know one thing I didn't like. We'll get to it.
Okay.
There's a lot I didn't like, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll move on. I'll get.
So we're introduced to our main characters, and they they roll up onto this onto the hotel. They're trying to get in, they can't. One dude breaks in, which, by the way, so the characters' names I don't remember. Her name is what? Caroline or something like that.
Yes.
Caroline. Yeah. So I remember her name, and then
her brother.
Yeah. So she's a researcher for the U.S. Paranormal Department.
Yeah, Patrick. Her
brother is Patrick.
Her brother's name is Patrick.
Yes.
Patrick. And then I don't even know what the other two are named. I called them
Wanda and Brant.
Okay, Wanda and Brant. I called them Al Borland and Proto Goth. She's like
I call her Homewrecker.
Proto Goth. So
I call her the Homewrecker.
What? Whose home did she wreck?
Brant. He was totally married.
Oh, was he?
He has pictures of his wife and his kid in his room.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
So,
I thought that was like her and her mom or something.
That's what I thought too.
You're probably right though. That probably was like his wife and kids. That would make a little bit more sense. But they just didn't say that at all.
I probably just because there's parts of this movie that just wormholed out of my head right after I watched it. I was like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, wait, what the fuck just happened?
Well, and they didn't specifically say that. That was an assumption on my behalf, but that was what I gathered from that scene.
That's interesting. That we both
just had a random picture.
Yeah,
in
no,
the hotel room.
I thought it was just a picture from the hotel that was already in the room. That's what I assumed.
Like, it was of like a mom and daughter.
Yeah.
And when she looked at it, I assumed it was like her room and that it was her like mom and her when she was little or something.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, that scene. Yeah.
Or that she left a daughter at home.
Yeah, and then but no, I think you're right because it also explains why later when they end up doing it, she's so pissed off that he goes in the shower. Which, by the way, who gets pissed off? We'll get to it, but who gets pissed off when after you have sex with somebody, they jump in the shower? How dare you! I want you to keep me on you for days.
Yeah, I like to soak it in.
Oh,
personally.
Whoa.
Is this you? You one of these guys?
Oh my god.
Are you guys done?
Anyway.
We're done. We're done.
Yep, we're done.
So they go in, and then there's like the next 20 minutes of this movie. Seriously, nothing happens. Like we kind of get to know their characters.
They lay some groundwork,
but it's very boring when they're laying this groundwork. It's not like
it was riveting,
interesting, and they're just like, you know how the government hired us to come here, and then they're like, you know, that's when we met Beethoven from the last movie, and he's crazy now, even though he seemed perfectly fine when we saw him last time.
Yeah.
Also, the other woman is dead, mummified. I don't know. Not explained. I mean, I guess the concept of it is that they tore her brain out like they were doing the others so they could resurrect Toulon.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
I didn't put that together.
But you have to think about it to put it together, because otherwise you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a throwaway comment, because I didn't even put that together until you just, mentioned it. Throughout the film, those are the pieces that he uses for his potion.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's from the nose. They pull it from the nose. So that's supposedly what happens, even though, like, what a terrible way to kill off your main character from the last movie, off screen and dumb. Right. But, what are you going to do? So, yeah, for the next couple...
Wait, not to mention, you just, like, if you're her character, and you just witness these things, like, go on a murder spree, why are you staying there, man? Why wouldn't you immediately put the place up for sale?
Well, not to mention, but what doesn't make sense is she has control of the puppets at the end of the movie.
She does,
we see that. She has control over the dead thing. It's nonsensical.
Well, what I think must have happened is that she must have upset them.
That's possible.
Yeah, because these little bastards have a MO.
They do. They turn on their masters if they hurt them.
Yes.
Yeah, because this is the second movie in a row where they had the same plot ending.
Yeah. I have a third option of why she's not in it, is the actress read the script and said, "Not good."
That's a good
point.
So, we're introduced to, so we get the dialogue, we find out that Patrick and Caroline are brother and sister. We lay the groundwork that these other two are flirty. And then that they're paranormal researchers. They hear, like, some noises. This, like, bird falls off of a shelf. This bird statue. I don't know.
Super spooky.
Yeah, super spooks. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's, like, no scares throughout this whole movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it wasn't even like a jump scares. Like, they're in the other room and they hear, they're like, what was that? And they walk in and find it. Huh. You're like, what the fuck?
Well, then
it was for no reason.
Well, they turn around and they look at that like little thing that was on, and they zoom into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
All they missed was the dun dun dun.
Yeah,
the only thing missing from that scene.
So we're introduced to our another character, Camille, who is a psychic, and she runs into these hillbillies played by Buck Flower and this other woman.
Some crazy lady.
They're building this electric, like, fence, which has the biggest gaps in between that I've ever seen. Like, they're like, that'll keep them out. Like, keep who out? Like, the gaps are like 3 feet in between each fence line. Like, I could step through it easily. I don't understand. So they're introduced literally just to be killed off later.
Yep.
And Camille,
I did enjoy
she's got one of the best quotes
scene
in this movie.
Oh
yeah.
No, their scene is really funny. It's the best, probably the funniest scene in the movie. Because you get, like, this woman just, like, kind of, like, freaking out and yelling at her
about entrails.
Yeah. They cook the last.
Yeah.
And then Camille,
she was like, and if you turn left and you run into the hotel and your lux ran out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we get their foreshadowing, and then she arrives at the hotel. We have no idea who this lady is, and then we find out that she is like a psychic of some sort, and she's not even a psychic that was related to the last movie, which would make sense. Like, what would make more sense is if the psychic character that comes along is Alex from the first movie, Beethoven.
Yeah,
that
would make 100% more sense.
Way more sense. But I don't know if he just didn't want to do it. Probably.
I mean, like, but why? If you knew, why would you go back there? Like, I would.
Well, unless he was the psychic that was brought there. Like, he's like, this is going on. People aren't believing him. He's like, I'll show you it's real, kind of thing. And he takes him there. He's like, you guys got to be cautious. And then the plot would move forward with him as kind of the lead, as opposed to just bringing in this random dude that they bring in, which is her son, as the male lead. So eventually we get we get this scene of them at the dinner table, and we find out that Patrick has a drinking problem, and he gives like this little speech, and he's like an asshole to her, makes fun of Camille, and there's this bit in there where they start talking about taint. That made me laugh.
Oh my god!
And he's like, "What do you mean taint?" And I was like, taint. So
you're like, deep down, I'm a 12-year-old boy.
Exactly, it never changes. But so in this scene, like it kind of is trying to set up some like character dynamics, and it just really is another scene that just stretches out this movie's runtime, to be honest, because we get like, so we're like, act like we're gonna get some backstory or something. She says he's never been able to hold his alcohol like my father.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, so maybe we're gonna get backstory to that. No, we do not. That's the one and only line for that period. So, that it is what it is. That's fine. But then we, a couple scenes later, after another like day of them looking for something, they're not finding anything. The two, Brant, is that his name? Derek?
Mm-hmm.
Brant and Wanda. Brant's doing like a little CCTV surveillance, and he's not seeing anything. She starts like hitting on him and like rubbing him and stuff, which is why I thought they were a couple. I had no idea that they were doing some dirty shit. While they're doing this, he happens to glance and see that the door's open that wasn't open before, and they rewind the tape and they see Pinhead, or I'm sorry, they see the Tunneler going into the room.
Yes. Oh my god, that is really what freaked me out in this movie.
Can you imagine like watching a CCTV video and you see that shit?
I literally wrote down I would shit my pants if I saw that.
Yeah, that would be terrifying. That would genuinely be terrifying.
Rule number 1, you call 911. I don't know what you tell them, but you tell them something. And then you go investigate.
Yeah, the fact that they're like, do you see it? Let's go check it out. And I'm like, no.
Let's get out of here. This is weird.
Yeah,
let's cut it out.
This movie happens right after what's about to happen.
Yeah, so
I can't wait to get to it because I'm like, what the hell?
So here's what happens next. The Tunneler goes in. Patrick has passed out after drinking some more wine because that's his whole character. And the Tunneler climbs on top of him and drills into his head. And they try to show it on screen. They show a little bit of it on screen. Like, what they can, and it looks fine. They come in and see him, and they grab the Tunneler and throw it against the wall. And then he starts smashing it with, like, a lamp. And Patrick's, like, convulsing. And then dies. So then Caroline runs in. And she's like, what's going on in here? Oh, no, Patrick!
Yeah.
She goes over to him and says, no, leave it. And just kind of stands over his body crying or whatever. Then the very next scene, they're like fucking putting him in the freezer of the hotel with a blanket thrown over him. Because when somebody dies, that's what you do.
Yeah. And it's obviously not like they're in a remote area because like later on they're like outside the hotel on the beach and there's people walking by.
Yeah.
And you're like, why didn't you call the police? And like now they're going to be like, hey, this body's been in here since like last Tuesday. Why didn't you call
I checked the expiration on this body and looks like his Best Buy date was last Tuesday.
Well, and also like to coincide with the fact that they put him in the freezer, if you were just listening to like the background noises, you would think that they put him in like a fucking laboratory because you can hear like the bubbling sounds in the background of like potions. Yeah.
They took him to Dexter's lab.
Are you? Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about what you just said too, we skipped it. We didn't talk about it, but Camille leaves. She goes to leave before this. She's packing to leave.
Oh, yeah,
and while she's packing to leave, she gets attacked by Pinhead, who basically knocks her down. Then one of the other puppets puts like maybe it's the leech woman, puts like gags her, and then they drag her off, and we don't see her. Is it Blade?
Oh no, it's Jester.
Yeah, it's Jester, because Blade doesn't have hands. So yeah, Jester gags her, and then they drag her off. So then we're kind of stuck.
I'm glad that you circled back to this, because like from the moment she goes, you know, oh, I'm gonna leave tonight, this place is bad, to the point where she dies is like 3 minutes.
Yeah, there's no
like,
setup
man,
payoff.
They skipped over an entire day.
Yeah, it's literally no setup payoff. It's like, I'm gonna leave tonight. Ah!
Yeah, we kind of skipped over the part where because you don't like, you wouldn't like her if she didn't snap back to the guy who was talking crap about her article that she writes.
Yeah.
So he like is making fun of the fact that she is a psychic, and he doesn't really believe her that much, and he's like, oh yeah, I read your article about the aliens and the sex change, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And she gets really offended, and she's like, until you've been in my shoes, and you've had to, stretch your, like she's clearly been through a lot as a psychic, and it kind of makes you feel for her a little bit, because you're like, okay, like I did anyways, maybe I'm just sympathetic, but I was like, okay, yeah, she's right, because it would be really hard to be her.
No, I agree, and it would have if we spent a little more time with her, but we don't. That's like literally her only character beat in the whole thing. We don't have time to care about her because she's introduced. She has 1 or 2 scenes where she talks to the guy. Then she says, "I'm leaving tonight," and then she's dragged off, and we don't see her for the next hour. It's just kind of like, okay. But yeah, I do. They tried. There's certain things they tried. Just like that bit about the drinking was a stab at character development.
Yeah.
It just the execution wasn't very good because there's nothing behind it. It's just surface level stuff. But after this, they start to do an autopsy onto a tunneler, which cracked me up, guys. They have him laying open. They have him cut open in the middle, like they're actually doing a legit autopsy on this guy. What did you guys think of that?
It was very goofy. I don't know how. I don't know what computer system they were using to, X-ray him.
It's probably DOS.
Yeah, totally did. Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, it's like they're like Hal over here, just like.
Yeah, they were able to
wasn't
switch.
DOS. It was like Windows 95.
Yeah, now 95, more like Windows 89. Yeah,
I mean, they were able to switch between 3 different images, and I don't understand what those images even were at all.
In the late 90s, I couldn't switch between 3 images. So I call BS. Yeah. I remember just
how much RAM they had in that computer?
Yeah, probably
like
about
350 megabytes.
Listen, it took me an hour and a half to download 1 image, and I had to keep checking to see if my mom was coming. So
These are true statements. I remember those days. On a side note, so one time I was over at Matt Swaby's house, and we were on his mom's computer, which, by the way, she kept changing the password, and they would just keep finding out what it was. But we were down. It wasn't even a bad image. It was Sarah Michelle Gellar, and something sexy. But anyway, yeah, it took literally like an hour and a half to download 1 image.
Yeah, I remember.
Might cut this out of this video, but
no, it's staying for sure, 100%. I'm gonna let Matt get in trouble because of your lack of discretion.
we were in junior high. It was hilarious.
So after their great sci-fi autopsy, by the way, it was Jester. You're right, because I wrote Pinhead and Jester are still awesome. The puppets in this movie just look better. I love the way Jester looks in this movie. Like the way that they did him and the way they lit him looks great, even when he gets all sad. So then also when I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when she's talking about Patrick, she's doing her thing, her accent slips. Did you guys notice this?
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one.
Vaguely.
Yeah, her accent slips pretty bad. And so,
what accent did she have?
Not an American one. It's like an Irish accent or something. It just slipped through quite a few times. It just out of nowhere. She would be when she was like, "Just leave him alone." You're like, "Huh? What? What's going on here?" So
now I have to go back and watch it.
Shortly after this, we're introduced to the villain of the piece, which is Toulon.
Invisible Man.
But is essentially Cheney, which is 100% an Invisible Man reference. Yeah.
Yes.
He's dressed exactly like the Invisible Man. With all the bandages, the goggles, the hat.
Which I love.
He looks great, actually.
He does.
He looks great.
Really freaky.
I love the way he looks.
Yeah, I mean, even in the later scenes, whenever he takes the bandages off, I thought he looked really good.
That is really
good. He looks good. I love his Invisible Man look. I think he looks, and the way they light him, he looks really cool. And I immediately loved it. It was like Cheney, ha ha ha. So yeah, really cool, really cool. Great design on him. So then after we're introduced to Cheney, he just randomly, by the way, shows up and he's like, "This is my hotel." And they're like, "Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have any, don't have any record of you owning this hotel." "It doesn't matter. I don't trust records. I'll allow you to stay for the time being until your research is complete." I would have been like, "Hey, dude, the government owns this place. Get the fuck out of my, get the fuck out of here. I'll call the police." Why don't they call the police?
Why don't they check really, like, right now? Like, go check right now.
Yeah, or
like,
just call
tomorrow.
Call the police and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, this guy's saying he owns this. What do you think? And can we check the records?" And then you just arrest him. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it. He'd be rotting, literally, in jail.
Literally.
You know what would have been really funny if that was the bridge too far and they called the police, even though her brother just died by the hands of a puppet. And they have him stuck in the freezer.
They just don't call
It's like,
the
I
police.
can't handle this. I'm calling the police.
Now you've done it, mister. You can't take my hotel from me. That is great. That's hilarious.
Logic.
Yeah, it's a hell of a thing, Logic. So after that weird scene, we get the death of the hillbilly. So basically, we find out that they need to collect. Cheney basically tells them they need to collect parts, human parts. And also, by the way, while this is going on, they are building he's building another puppet. We don't see what it is yet, but he's building another puppet. And the hillbillies, they go to the hillbillies' house, and we're introduced to them sleeping in their bed. They're like laying in bed, and we get an off-screen kill with Buckflower.
Also, the dialogue that the wife has. She's like, "I told you not to do that in bed."
Yeah, go to the other room if you want to do that.
And then he's over there going, "Oh."
It's like, so what, does he deep throat while
I don't understand. You said what I was thinking. So I'm glad that you said it. But then she rolls over, and he's like getting his tongue cut out, or is that right?
They're doing the brain thing. Yeah,
well,
isn't that what they're doing? Aren't they
taking
taking his brain out again, Lydia?
I must have missed that. I didn't see that.
When Buckflower is dying, like
I don't know. I remember her dying, but I must have looked away.
He's like laying in bed. He might have cut out his tongue too, but he's doing something. He's like, Blade kills him.
Yeah.
And then she.
No, I thought it was the little.
Oh, you're right. It was
lady.
The leech lady kills him, because she kills him, and then then she starts chasing her around. Like, she throws her against the wall, and then she chases her around with a shotgun, which is like a total Evil Dead 2, like, I'll say homage instead of ripoff. But it's like that kind of scene where she's like listening to her, and then she eventually ends up. There's a weird scene where she pushes over a baby doll, and the doll breaks, and the woman, even though she just had her husband killed and she's chasing this doll, stops in the middle of this and goes over and is just like, "Oh, my doll!" And I was so confused at this. Do you guys understand what this is about either?
Nope.
Okay. I was like, maybe it's her daughters or something. I don't know. But either way, she ends up catching the leech woman and throwing her in the fire and burning her up. Then Blade stabs her in the calf. And then we're introduced to Torch. What do you guys think of our new Torch?
Well, he looks badass. But this is the point, I think, where she has her shotgun and she turns around and before he uses his power, she says a quote, dude, and it's the best quote in the world. She goes, "You may think you've got the power of hell on your side, but you don't know who you're dealing with." And then right then he just lights her ass on fire.
So good. And that effect was really good too.
It's great.
Yeah, the Torch.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the Torch puppet is awesome.
Charred face.
And awesome. Like, you know, somebody really did get like drenched in some fire right there.
100% a real burn stunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays that would totally be done in CGI. Then it
with a budget that small, yep.
Yep. And they just let it go. And so yeah, they Torch is introduced, and yeah, he's awesome. I love his design. I think he's so cool looking. I like how his teeth are bullets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he
looks like, amazing.
The cool like his the way his eyes light up when he's about to fire.
Yes.
Yep.
And so Leech Woman's dead, so we lost one. And then in this next scene is when we find out that the reason they need to collect these is because the puppets are dying. That's why they resurrected him. Because they're running out of juice, and they need more of it, and he's the only one that can create the potion. And basically, Jester is dying. He's sitting in his little throne, and he's just frowning the whole time. And that makes you very sad, doesn't it, Lydia?
Yeah. He's just trying to puppet, you know? He's just trying to be...
Just trying to be a puppet.
Got no energy. I feel that sometimes.
I feel that most days.
Just sit in my little chair and be like, I need energy.
Yep. Yeah. That's no joke.
That Jester, he's just so relatable.
He definitely is. Oh, so then we get after that, we get this weird flashback scene. Guys, this flashback scene felt like another padding attempt. And that's where we start to find that out, that she's the reincarnation of his wife.
Yes.
But it's the way it's presented is really weird. Because...
Well, I mean, they filled in a lot of... I won't say filled in, but they came up with a lot of crap. Is what it seems like. But yeah, so you get the reincarnation thing, which, man, like how many movies has that as a plot point?
A lot.
The Fog. The remake of The Fog has it. We just watched.
And also they set up like how he became like the puppet master of these puppets, which is great. That guy setting his thing on fire with his eyes.
Insane. Insane. That's what I wrote in my notes. I'm like, why does this guy have fucking fire eyes? Like, it's just... That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like a bunch of stuff just because I'm watching it and I was like, okay, so what's going to happen? And then that guy just goes, and then like the things light on fire. I was like, what? So now this movie has that?
Were you like, Kal-El?
I guess he's Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, okay, that's a better reference.
But it's like really strange. So yeah, this sequence basically is just for that, so we get that little bit of backstory. But the way they go into it is my favorite bit, because the sequence itself is pretty decent, but they just like he just sits in his chair and he's just like staring off, and you can't see. So it's not like a normal. If it was like me, right, and I'm like, then you can see I'm thinking about you know what I mean, my past. His eyes are covered. He's like, has these goggles on. It's just like his blank face is just staring at you. And you're like, they push in. And he's like, he doesn't even do like a head tilt or anything. He's just like, Wayne's World style.
Yeah.
Into the flashback.
I kind of liked that shot, actually.
The shot was, I think the composition of the shot was great, but the visual language of we're going into a flashback just wasn't there. Because it was just.
Yeah, it was kind of out of nowhere. But
and then you're just like, in the past, you're like, oh, I guess we're flashing back. Okay. Got it. So yeah, we find out about his backstory and that she's the reincarnation, and that's why he's staying. And then after that, we're introduced to her son. What's her son's name? Michael?
Yes.
Yeah, Michael. We're introduced to Michael. And Michael is something else. That's all I could say about Michael. Because he's introduced so late in the game. Like, so late in this movie. And it's very clear that he's supposed to be like the male lead. But you're like, why didn't they bring him in much earlier in this movie?
Well, he showed up before the farmers got murdered.
Okay, yeah. That's where he first shows up. Because then he sees the brother in Dexter's lab. And then he's just kind of like, or no, he doesn't see the brother. He sees the tunneler laying there. And he's like, she's like, they killed my brother. He's like, huh? I'm sorry. Let's go find my mom. Then so his whole purpose of being there is to look for his mom. So then she's like,
not do.
He goes once with her. She says, let's go look. They ride off. And of course, there's this, they're leaving and they run into Cheney, who's standing down there, Toulon. And he's like, I see you're taking her on that death trap of a motorcycle. You must be careful. These things are dangerous. And she's like, no, she's not wrong. But he's like, it would be a shame if something happened to you. Look what happened to me. It's just like this really awkward. He's like, forgive me for not shaking hands. I'm afraid. And I was like, why are you guys humoring this fucking weirdo? Like,
yeah, no kidding.
Get away from him.
What started that conversation about the motorcycle was he was like that he was smoking. I totally understand this, by the way.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, those are really bad for you." Little does he know, he's like brought back from the dead. But then that's what starts that.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Because he's like, well, it's not near as dangerous as that motorcycle contraption you're riding. Because he's like totally out of out of the 30s. He's lost in time. And it's just really like the fact that they just keep talking to him and humoring creeps. Like, I'm just like, why? I would have came down and saw him and just kept on walking. Been like, no. Yeah. I do that to my neighbor. He just pops outside and I see he's outside and I don't go out. Or I go around. Or I go out and I'm just kind of like act like I'm on the phone or something. So that way, that's how it would work for normal. My neighbor, if he saw I was on the phone, would try to talk to me still and ask me who I'm talking to.
Pickle is?
Talk to me about his dog Pickle. And then of course would jump my fence randomly. I don't know if I told you this, Lydia. We were filming, or we were about to film, and I looked outside and he's just jumped into my yard. And he's like talking to the neighbor
Talking
dogs.
to the neighbors.
What if he listens to this?
Jamie.
Well, good. Then he'll know. Know.
That he crossed the boundary.
Stay out of my yard.
Okay.
Stay out of my yard. It's out of bounds.
See these fences? They're boundaries. Don't jump over them.
Think of them as fences.
Stay with me here. This analogy is going to get complex.
Anyway.
So
they go to town. And I don't mean that they're going to town. They do that later. They go to town.
Dude, it's hilarious because I'm glad you brought that up because she's gonna go into his into Toulon's room and he like grabs her and shakes her. He's like, "You don't go in there," and I'm like, I was like, man, after the dance, he gets physical with her, and then right then it cuts to them like having sex, and I was like, I've
got to say, we'll get to that in a minute, but I've got to say, I love the fact that he shows up, he says, "Oh, you can stay, but just stay out of my personal quarters," and they're just like, "All right, that seems reasonable." And the fact that he's like locked in this creepy ass like dungeon area. And you don't think that's strange?
And how giant the house is from the outside shot. And how small the rooms are.
I know. It's great. It's great. Remember, there's supposed to be individual hotel rooms if we're going by the story as well.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just hilarious.
And they only show...
So anyway, they go into town. And at the same time, Toulon is sending his little puppets out to collect specimens. And we get this weird scene where this kid is like, I guess he's wanting to be Indiana Jones. He walks out with a whip. But he's not Indiana Jones because Indiana Jones does not torture folks. Right. He takes his G.I. Joe and takes its shirt off and starts whipping it. Like some kind of sadistic weirdo. I wrote in my notes.
Then Indy got whipped, didn't he?
Yeah, but this guy is supposed to be...
Maybe he was playing the bad guys.
Well, he's definitely the bad.
He's confused. He's a young kid.
I put fucked up kid because he's fucked up.
I mean, he is like a mean little boy.
You know who he is? He's Sid. He's like the proto Sid from Toy Story.
He is. You know what's hilarious about this scene?
I bet you they watched this before they wrote Toy Story, and they're like, "We gotta put that guy in there."
You're like, oh, he's a scary character. It's hilarious though, because Torch man has infinite patience with this kid. He's like, "No, I'm not going to kill him." And then, by the end of it, he's like, "Well, the kid just hit me with a whip."
It is yelling at me. He's berating me
because he yells at him. So he's like, "All right, you're totally."
Well, I love it. His eyes light up, and then it just cuts. So we're assuming he tortures this kid.
To him being like getting ready to scream or something.
Yeah, and we never see it, and we don't actually have that confirmed as a kill either, because he doesn't bring back that part. Because what happens is when they bring back bits, we find out that they actually, besides the hillbilly people, haven't been killing people. They've been taking them from animals.
That's true.
Yeah.
So the puppets, while they're doing that, our folks are in town. Then there's this weird scene between those two, where like this weird kiss scene, so awkward. Like he's like, was like, "Have you found your mom yet?" "No, but I know where we should go." And it just cuts to them on like the side of like the coast of the beach.
I hated this scene.
Why is it there? So stupid.
I almost fell asleep. It was so long and boring, and I literally did not care. I was like, I almost fast forwarded through it because I was like, how much longer is this scene gonna be of her just talking?
And if my mom was missing, what I would 100% do is go chill out on the beach for a while and make out with this girl.
Yeah. I don't even remember what she was talking about, but it was like her life, and I was like,
yeah.
I don't care.
I don't remember. It was something about her life. Do you remember what she was talking about, Derek?
Absolutely not.
Okay, yep. You just know that randomly
don't
they
recall
kissed.
It whatsoever.
They just met.
Yeah, she was telling him how like she's always been driven, and maybe that's why she got a job with the government.
Oh yeah,
and
that's
all this
where
stuff.
It lost me.
And she's like, maybe I don't want this anymore. Yeah.
Hey, wait. So what was it?
It was a bunch of bullshit. Well, you really want me to restate it? Oh,
yeah.
I see what you're doing. That's funny.
Something about the government.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that happened. So when we get back to the house, he basically says, "We almost have enough. Now we just have to kill those, everybody in this house except for my beloved Caroline, who is actually what's his wife's name again?" Do you remember his wife's name?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, don't either. Vera, we'll say, because I'm too lazy to look it up right now. Hang on, I'll find out who it is. Damn it!
It was probably fucking Elizabeth or something average.
You got it, Derek?
Yeah, I should have it in just a second. Elizabeth, is that what you said?
Yeah. That's how most of these.
The Elizabeth Dane.
That's probably what I'm thinking of.
Sure.
Like all these stories has an Elizabeth in it when they come back, you know?
Yep.
It only has the first name.
What is it?
Elsa.
Elsa Toulon.
Elsa. There you go.
Close enough. I mean, close to Elizabeth. So
they were German.
Yep. So he says, everybody but my beloved Elsa, who calls herself Caroline, will be destroyed tonight. And there's this great and weird scene where Michael is like, hey, check out what I found. These records. And he starts playing them and they start dancing.
Yes.
And then Chaney shows up and he's like, may I have this? It's like very Yoda. Dance I may have, huh? and he's like, he cuts in and he starts dancing with her. And she's like, oh, and he's like, do you remember this song? She's like, yeah, it's an old standard. And he's like, you used to love it. Remember me. And she's just like, what the fuck are you talking about, you bandage-faced weirdo? And
he had to smell soda.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so bad.
Yeah, how you gonna hold that in, man?
He literally had to smell like rotten flesh.
Yep. Rotten flesh and poop.
Like dead animal smell.
So she dances with him, and then he's like, do you mind if I cut in? He's like, I suppose if you want to be rude. Like, some people just don't have patience. Then he breaks the record.
Yeah, like, for how much of a villain he is, I still don't, hate him. Like,
no, he's hilarious. He's such a weirdo.
Yeah,
oddball.
He's funny.
And just, so pathetic at the same time. He's... So he breaks it. He's like, oh, not too many of those come around all the time. It'll be hard to replace.
Yeah. Like, that was an antique, you asshole.
Yeah. And so then he cuts out, and that's when the scene that you were talking about, Derek, where he's like, you don't go in there! Don't go to Talon's room!
Yep. He's going to get physical with her, and then...
Yeah, then it's just this abrupt cut, and they're, having sex, and it's like the PG... Like the most PG-13 sex you've ever seen. They have the Top Gun blue lighting on. So they have the blue lighting on, and it's kissing of arms and stuff. And then we do another cut, and we're in the room. Yeah, that's what it is, kissing of arms and legs intertwining. I remember when I was a kid, I was like, is that what sex is? Just a bunch of wrapping of limbs and dim lighting?
You gotta really set the mood.
First, we gotta turn these lights down, shine a blue one on us. Now we're ready to go. Candles lit. Let's go, ladies. So then we cut to Wanda, and we see Wanda's boobies. She's standing there topless.
One does.
As one does. Well, you do after you just get done having sex. It makes sense. At least it's not nonsensical nudity. It's there. It makes sense. And so she throws on a shirt, and she's incredibly pissed. And that's when you say that you found out that she was cheating on him. And I totally didn't get that.
I didn't either.
That's a great catch.
That was what I got, because she walks over.
I think you're right.
This photo off of the nightstand, and it's this woman and this little girl, and you're like, she's a homewrecker.
I thought she was like, yes, I like this frame. I don't care for the picture that came with it.
Throw that away.
Throw that away.
I mean, and up until this point, man, I liked what's his face. what was it, Brandt?
I still kind of like him. He's
you know, he was a free flowing guy. You know, like whatever. He's on this weird gig where they're investigating.
There's a great bit in this part though, where she's like, "I'm gonna get back down," because she relieved Caroline from her duty, so she could get some rest, and then she leaves her post and goes and sleeps with what's his name, because Caroline was supposed to come back, and so Caroline's banging good old Mike that she just met, and he's banging her, and she finds out, you know, she tells him, I better get back down there because you know, nobody's down at that post. And he's like, what? You left the post open? She's like, well, yeah, we caught the killer. We caught a killer. There might be more of those things running around. I'm going down there. She's like, no, I'll do it. She like walks off, and then he gets wrecked. He goes into his room, and you hear some again off screen. You hear like another go in there, and you see like basically Blade stabbing him, I guess. And then this is the funniest kill of the whole movie, in my opinion. He runs towards her, flies towards her, and then he like cuts at her face, and you see like this terrible like
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, and you can tell that the blood's already there. When he's like slicing her.
Yeah.
When you cuts, there's just
kind of swiping in front of the camera.
Knife.
Yeah, moving the knife in front of the camera. Great, hilarious stuff. So yeah, she's dead. He's dead in a matter of minutes after we haven't had a kill in this movie for like 25. And then so then they basically go to kill Michael because she gets kidnapped by Toulon because she's down in goes and investigates his room, and he catches her, and he's like, yes, my dear, and he explains his whole plan. You were my old love. Now I will bring you back, and it like turns into like a 1930s serial after this point because she's literally tied to the chair as a damsel in distress. And we have Michael. By the way, this is hilarious. When Torch shows up and burns the bed and he escapes, we just see this dude's full ass just running around multiple times.
Yes, we do.
Dude, yeah.
It's quite hilarious.
Gratuitous, man. Gratuitous.
He's just like, let me put out this fire with my ass.
I laughed at that part because he dives sideways so that you couldn't see anything except his butt.
Yeah, so you don't see his sack.
Yeah. So I laughed really hard at him just diving sideways.
That's what naturally does when fire's around.
Oh man, that got me.
Yeah, it's great. I laughed too. I was like, man, this guy's butt's just they're like, which is great, equal opportunity, nudity, that's fine with me. But it's just really weird the way that he's diving and has to do this action.
Yeah, scene. Yeah.
I remember back in the day when when I was little, my mom was a big fan of Van Damme. And there's a scene in Bloodsport where he like stands off the bed and his butt's up, and mom's always like, ooh, look at Van Damme's butt.
Oh my God.
We were always like, Mom, stop it. You're ruining Bloodsport.
You're ruining this now.
That's hilarious, man.
But so he ends up killing Tunneler, kind of puts him out of commission for sure. Knocks him out. Takes him out of commission. And then he's he's attacked via the dumbwaiter. This is so stupid. And his mom's just like kind of in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Jester and Blade, right?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And
by
Pinhead,
this point, I was like, who is that?
Yeah, I know. You forgot who she was. I did at first. I was like, oh, yeah. And then, like, he goes, Mom. Up towards the thing. No. So he goes down to rescue her. And this is where we get my favorite part of the movie. My favorite scene of this whole movie is this ending. because Toulon's plan is to transform them into these puppet bodies to live forever. Now, why he would want her in a puppet body instead of the body she's in, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, did he?
I mean, you're going to be in a puppet body.
I've got to ask
especially.
you guys. Also,
he wanted her to live forever.
Yes, I get that, but I've got to ask it. You know what I've got to ask, Lydia?
What?
Did he give her a puppet vagina?
So either way, that puppet is so
creepy.
Ugly. It's the
hideous,
ugliest puppet in the world, possibly.
I love his design. He looks so creepy.
Yeah,
like so disgusting. Like the way, like his big fake teeth and his creepy big eyes, big head.
Yeah.
Very
off-putting.
I love the way he looks. He's so creepy. I was like, you couldn't have built less creepy puppets? Wait a minute. You want to transfer her from that body?
Yeah.
To that one?
That. It's like something about her teeth and eyes, obviously, but the teeth and the lip, like her lips were just all wrong. Like,
yeah. And it's because they curve up and they have like the big plastic fake teeth.
She's wearing a big, So she looks, it reminded me of this. Did you guys ever watch The Amanda Show?
Uh-huh.
So when there's like these like little claymation, like stop motion segments in there, and her like it's of Amanda, but like she looks like that, like she looks terrible, and like her teeth
kind of like looks like clay, like kind of like claymation, like kind of like Rudolph or something, but like a creepy version of that, like a messed up version of Sherman the Elf, right?
I'm gonna look up this Amanda Show thing and show you guys.
While she's doing that, here's a real question. The motivation for these puppets to turn on Toulon is...
Are you wanting to know what it is?
Oh my god.
Yeah, because it wasn't super clear. I'm assuming that it was the fact that he was going to use that potion that he made.
That's exactly why. Because he says exactly, this is our last bit of potion. This is the last that we have, my dear. So we need to use it. And he's not going to give it to them. And he doesn't care if they live or die. He just needed the potion for them. He used the puppets again. Oh, you're going to show us this clip? Oh my God!
Yep.
Oh. Yep.
This is from the Amanda Show.
Yep, that's 100%. That is 100.
She talks and her mouth moves in stop motion, and it is terrifying.
That is terrifying.
I thought it was a messed up duck.
You're welcome for that.
Is that Amanda Bynes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
I know.
So bad.
That's why she went crazy, because of shit like that.
But that was a great show, and it was really funny. And
it was.
But that
the less said about Drake Bell, the better.
The less said about what?
Drake Bell.
What's wrong with Drake Bell?
You guys don't know about that?
What?
He pleaded guilty to like messing with little kids.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, endangering children because he was like sending like underage girls like sexual things. Just recently, a few months ago.
Who is this?
Drake Bell from Drake and Josh.
Plead guilty.
Remember Drake and Josh?
For one.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys are finding this out on our horror podcast.
Really weird.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I'm looking this up, man.
He's got to look it up.
To attempted child endangerment. Oh my God. Whatever. Thanks for blowing my mind.
That's why Josh was always my favorite.
Josh is the best.
Josh is cool. He's in the new Turner and Hooch, because we needed a new one of those.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully they bring back the dog.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Obviously the dog is.
The new dog.
Not alive.
It looks exactly the same though somehow.
It's a new dog that they also named Hooch. So, you know. So anyway.
Back to these creepy dolls.
So I love the way he looks. So basically, that's their plan is to live for. That's his plan is to live forever. So he slits his throat. After he pours the stuff down he pours the blood into the thing.
Yeah, he drinks it.
He drinks that, and then he cuts the throat and pours it into the puppet's mouth.
Yes.
It drains into a funnel of the mouth, and then the puppet awakes and it's all like googly eyed and creepy, and he's like, "We can live forever!" And then out of nowhere, Michael comes in.
That should be on our.
You want that on our thumbnail?
Yes.
So Michael comes in and does literally nothing. He unties her because the puppets turn on him because she drinks some of it and spits it out. He goes, "Dear, we cannot waste this. This is our last goblet. We need this potion to survive." And so then they're like, "Well, this guy's screwing us. To hell with him." So they start beating the shit out of him. They like hurt him. They smash his hand so that way more of the liquid comes out.
Wait, hang on. So I just want to review his master plan. His master plan was to put his essence into these dolls that were as fragile as
way more fragile than people.
Setting your hand in a car door.
Way more fragile than people. Yeah. Not the best idea. It's not the greatest. It's like they're made out of like fucking paper mache and duct tape. Like,
been. At least he could have made them out of wood. That would have been a little more indestructible than the porcelain.
Yeah, that they decided to use. Yeah. So yeah, that's a great point, Derek. So the puppets turn on him and basically throw him out of a window, and he smashes and he's dead. They get out of the house. Then we do a time jump, and we don't even talk about everybody else that died in the house. We're just a time jump happens, and he's burying his mom. Kind of, because she's not being buried. They don't know what happened to her body. And he's like, I really don't, I mean, or they did find her body, but they're like, why was there, because the last shot we see before we cut to this bit is Jester dragging the goblet into the dumbwaiter with her.
A fire.
Yeah, and then we cut. And then the next bit, we see them. She's like, let's not talk about it. Let's not go there anymore. She doesn't even talk about the fact that I can't believe I lost my brother. Can't believe I lost my research team. Can't believe that these deaths happened. Can't believe that guy was a fucking crazy puppet man that tried to kill us. Can't believe that puppets tried to kill us themselves. It's like, let's not talk about that. Let's just move on with our lives. And they like walk off, and then we get this weird, like basically what would now be a post-credit scene. But we get this stinger where we see her driving with her creepy-ass puppet face.
Yes.
And her creepy hat and all that weird shit. And she's driving next, and she has Torch next to her. And she's like, her plan is to go to some kind of school for children to enchant children?
Yeah, they were going to transfer their bodies to... that's what I got from it. I think you have to, like, maybe think about it. But what I got out of that was she was going to transfer them into the people's body. That's what I got from it.
Maybe, but she's talking about, like, enchanting children.
Yeah, it was confusing, for sure.
It's very confusing, especially since, here's what I don't understand. She was a good person. Why does she now, like, we must kill people? You know what I mean? It, like, makes no sense.
Yep.
It was the most confusing ending possible.
Yeah. I didn't really understand it, but I kind of liked it, even though it didn't make sense.
Yeah, I think it's kind of neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of neat. Just kind of also like, why is this the thing? You know, why is this here? So yeah, that was Puppet Master 2. So guys, the first question I'm going to ask you is, do you like Puppet Master 2 better than Puppet Master? Let's start with you, Lydia.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. I think they're pretty equal, but I do think this one had a few things better in it, like the deaths. Yeah, I would probably say I like the second one better.
Derek.
Yep, definitely liked this one better. I thought the special effects were better. I thought the kills were better. There's a couple of scenes in this, like I think Toulon at the end, before he turns into a puppet, like looks really cool.
He
When
looks
the
cool as a
lady,
puppet,
the
too.
hillbilly. Oh yeah, he looks cool as a puppet, but I like they did a really good job on his corpse body.
We kind of skimmed over that,
when the
didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Then
he looks creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when they fried the hillbilly lady,
Yeah.
Yeah,
her
that was
corpse
cool.
looked really good. I
Yeah.
made a notation that, you know, just in general, like that aspect, they definitely bumped up. That extra room in their budget, you can see where it went, and that's great.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
story was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
The acting was mediocre.
I think that the acting was
but I
better
really
in this
enjoyed the
one than the
kills.
last one, though.
I agree with that.
Across the
Yep.
board, I do.
I think. Who do you think was the weakest actor?
In this one, it's hard to say. I think all of them were actually
brother?
pretty competent. Probably maybe the brother.
I think Wanda was pretty bad at the beginning, especially.
Yeah, she's a little weak too, but she's not like glaringly terrible.
Yeah.
I think that the Camille is kind of iffy at the beginning too.
Well, and like the main girl isn't really that good.
No, she's not great, but she's serviceable. She's serviceable.
Mm-hmm.
I like this movie better than the first one, I think, too. Like you, Lydia, it's close to me. I think they're kind of on par. I think that neither of them have very good storylines. I think the plot to the original has too much going on and nothing going on at the same time. Whereas this one is kind of the same. Like it has an overarching big plot, but it's also a plot that we've seen a million times before, and it's not very interesting.
Yeah.
Minus the whole, the crazy things they do with the puppet bodies. So yeah, I'm with you. Let's start with you, Derek. What's your puppet rating for this guy?
Pumpkin? Or puppet rating?
A puppet rating. But what's your pumpkin
you said
rating?
Puppet, usually.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this is a 4.5.
So about on par with the last one.
Yeah. I do think it was better, but it wasn't that much better.
No, it's not. Lydia, what is your rating? Pumpkin puppet rating?
I can't remember what I gave it last time.
I don't remember either.
I want to say it was around 5.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'll give this one 6.
Okay.
Lydia's logic.
Yep. I'm gonna stick with you, Derek. I think the last one I gave did I give the last one a 4? I think I gave it around a 4 or so. Should have looked it up. I was going to, but I forgot. I'm going to give this one around a 4.5 as well. Maybe a 5. I'll give it 5. 5 out of 6. I'll cut the difference between you. I'll give it a 5 out of 6. I think, or 5 out of 6. 5 out of 10. I think that it is a little better than the first one, but I think some of the same problems exist. And the main problems I have are just the lack of inventive kills that we see on screen. And also the plot this one is just because there's a lot of boring shit going on, which is the problem I had with the first one too. There's just long stretches of boring shit because they have to stretch it out. And so I'm hoping that when we get to the third one of these eventually, we'll be able to, it'll be more exciting. I know that 3 and 4 are kind of together and are like a more interesting arc from what I read. So we might get some more like craziness. So I'm excited to get to there. But yeah, 4.5. Or 4.5 for Derek, 6 for Lydia, 5 for me. Any final thoughts on Puppet Master Part 2?
Only 12 more to go.
Yep. Only 1 year left.
Man, I know there's one in there that is like specifically terrible.
It's Retro Puppet Master. Yep.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's gonna be a brutal one to sit through.
Yes, it really is. I've watched it before, actually.
Yeah, so have I. It's pretty. I watched it on Sci-Fi Channel once, and was like, "Oh my god," because I was like, "Oh, Puppet Master, I love these," and I got to that. And that was the one that was on. And I was like, "Nope, don't love this one."
I think I watched it on Riff Tracks.
Oh, so at least you got a funny version of it.
Yeah.
I got the actual movie, and I was like, "Oh." So, Derek, it is your turn, my friend, to pick the movie this week. What movie are we watching next week?
Oh, I've got this one. I haven't seen this movie in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be watching Popcorn.
What?
Have you never heard of Popcorn?
Never heard of this.
Ah. Well,
have you heard of this, Lydia?
That's what we're watching.
It sounds like a movie you just made up. It also sounds like a snack. So, like, Derek, that's a snack. What is this movie about?
Yeah, tell us a little bit of what it is.
Yeah, I'm confused at Popcorn.
So these friends, it's either like a play production or a movie production, but it's like for a high school, I believe. But these friends are like shooting a movie or doing a play, and then it's kind of like a Phantom of the Opera type thing. Like things start happening, people start dying, and then there's a twist at the end.
Show me like
you've never heard of this?
No, show me like the poster. I still feel like you're like making something up.
And I'm going by memory. I haven't seen this movie since like the early 90s.
Is it a B movie?
Is it a kids movie?
Probably. No, it's not a kids movie. What are you?
Good.
Dee Wallace in it?
Okay. I'm excited to see this. This looks cheesy as hell.
Yeah, I mean, I like that cover.
Yeah, the cover's badass. Okay, let's give it a watch. Don't ruin all the stuff. We've never seen this, so I don't want to see. I just wanted to know what it was. Popcorn. Gotcha. Do we know where this is streaming?
Nope. I'll find it.
Because I wanted to tell our audience where to find it.
Probably impossible to find.
Yeah, okay, Derek, look and see if you can find it real fast. Go to streaming real fast, see. That way we can tell our audience what you missed the R, buddy. You put popcorn steaming. They're going to give you like recipes. Well, it looks like you can watch the full movie on YouTube.
Oh, man. This is going to be bad.
So you have to subscribe to that. Go to YouTube and see if it shows, like, if it's the whole movie.
It says full movie.
It sure is.
Okay, well. Oh my God. All right.
Movie partners.
You can check it out on YouTube.
I like how Interview with a Vampire is like the first next thing up.
Yeah, I know. Like they're on the same level even.
They probably heard us.
Yep, they did. Okay, so there you go. Popcorn is our movie next week, guys. Whatever that is, hopefully you are ready for it just like we are. If you guys don't have anything else, no? All right. Well, then in that case, I'm Jamie Hiles for Lydia Judy and Derek Lemaster. Remember, if you're going to scream
bloody
movies.
Derek's like 4.5 minutes behind us.
No, I was like right on. We started and ended at the same time.
Scream bloody movie. Good night, folks.